Welcome to the Emerald Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Doyle, and on this podcast I speak to different Irish athletes about their highs, their lows, biggest battles, biggest successes, and why they fell in love with their sport. In this episode I chat to Paul Conroy, a professional golfer currently playing in America. Some of his achievements include Munster Boys Champion in 2018, Leinster Order of Merit Champion in 2019. We speak about playing with Enniscorthy Golf Club, competing in amateur competitions across Ireland, making the brave journey across America to compete against better opposition, and what his next step is in golf. Without further ado, Paul Conroy. Paul, how are you? Thanks very much for coming on to the podcast.
I'm good, Chrissy. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. How's life treating you in the States?
Oh, sure, it's good. Can't complain. The weather is good and stayed away from that hurricane last week, so can't complain.
Yeah. Well, I'd say I just heard about there on the news and stuff, and it looks fairly severe. So you're doing well to avoid it.
Yeah, it was fairly brutal now. I was meant to be down there in it last week, and so I stayed well away in the end.
Good man. Because I know you'd hear about home and stuff, and the weather would be great, but it's not hurricane season at home either in Ireland. So
no, different kind of rain that.
Yeah, a touch more extreme. Tell me just to start off, because I know you've turned pro and you're doing so well at the minute and conquering a lot. But I'd like to start just talking to you about how you got into golf and how I suppose you became in love with it and started playing it.
I'd say I played a lot of pitch and putt first. Just up in St. Patrick's there with the lads growing up, and then went to the golf course. Then my granddad would have played a lot of golf, but as you know yourself, I played most sports growing up. And I'd say I was probably around 14, 15 when I really took to it and really started enjoying it, playing on teams out in Enniscorthy, all that sort of stuff. And then I did transition year. And for transition year, I did like a kind of like a golf program thing up in the north. And I got significantly better over a year of doing that. So I was like, geez, could be onto something here. So I suppose I really started working hard at it from about 14, 15, 16 kind of. And yeah, from there it's all just sort of aligned and fell into where I am now.
As you know yourself, I love GA, I love soccer, and I love rugby. And sometimes I almost feel if you don't play those, lads that nearly have the mindset, oh, you must not be sporty. So I actually love the fact that, you know, like athletics, yourself going and doing golf, that people kind of pursued other sports locally at home and done really well. Did you find that it was tricky to go maybe and choose golf over GA and rugby that were team sports more so, or was there really a good social group of you in the golf club as well in town?
It was definitely a lot harder, I would say, to play golf when everyone in your year in school you're playing hurling and football all the time. And I was playing hurling and football too with the lads and that, but we had a good crew of lads in the golf club. There was probably 4 or 5 of us around the same age who played a lot together during the summer, and just free babysitting really when you think about it. When you're 12, 13, just drop them off at the golf course and here, go play golf all day. Yeah,
not the worst thing in the world either.
No, it's not.
You know, sometimes there's not much to do. So if you get into a habit of going out and playing a game of golf, it's unreal.
Absolutely.
So you're playing out in Enniscorthy Golf Club. You're loving playing golf. You've kind of started to pursue it or see that there could be something in it. When did you make the choice, I suppose, to go start playing amateur competitions and, you know, do a bit more traveling around Ireland and stuff?
I'd always sort of played them. I'm very competitive, so I always sort of just had an eye for it and going to play them when I was even 14, 15 before I even took it that serious. And I started playing loads of them then and playing them all and all across the country. And it was probably my last year at under 18s. I had been in the north and I'd played loads of tournaments then that summer, competitively under 18 tournaments, and I started doing really well in them. I suppose that really set me up then to just continue it and keep working harder at it. And then after under 18s, there's a big gap between that and you're thrown into the deep end playing against the men, and it's quite hard then you're playing different golf courses and you might not get into all the events just because there's so much more depth, that sort of stuff. But it was definitely good for me to go in there and get the experience the first sort of year or two and try and make a couple of cuts and that. And then really after that, I went for a year of college in Maynooth and practiced fairly hard up there. They had a golf program, and all of a sudden I was right up there in a couple of events, and then found myself in America after a few months in Maynooth, and came home from America and I was nearly winning the event. So I was just gradually getting better and performing better each year, I suppose, with that experience.
Unreal. And I know like you've got some achievements like in 2018 you had the Munster Boys champion, and you'd picked up different achievements along the way as well, the under 21 Leinster Order of Merit champion as well, and just little things I suppose to give you confidence. But I suppose going into those amateur games, because I know from playing a small bit of golf now, I'm going from ditch to ditch. So I suppose how was your mental game on that path, and did you feel there was areas where you worked on, and what was that like, I suppose?
I think part of it was like actually seeing those results, as you said, like you see the Order of Merits every year and you see your name get closer and closer to the top every year, and you're like, you get confidence, I suppose, from seeing your name rising and getting that bit better. But golf it's so mental. It's 85% mental at this stage now where I am. Like everybody kind of is as good as each other, as talented as each other, but it's so mental out there. You really just have to convince yourself that you can do it, that sort of way.
Yeah, no, unreal. I don't know how you do it or anybody does it, really, because it's just, and you could hit a perfect shot and it could just roll off into the rough and just go into the water. I just don't know how you all keep doing it.
That would drive you mad, all right.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And then you make the big move to the US. I suppose moving away from family, moving abroad. How did you come about that decision? And I suppose what were you feeling at the time?
Well, I suppose I knew the best in the world, the best amateurs in the world are playing college golf in the US. So I kind of talking with my father and talking with my coach and stuff, where we decided like it's probably the best thing to do is go to the US and test my game out. And you get so much better when you're playing against people who are like the top lads each week. And my game just got so much better after even just half a year there. I remember coming home that summer and feeling like I was twice the player I was before I went there. But it was definitely a big shock going from town in Enniscorthy over to the backwoods of Tennessee. But it was good.
Yeah, and just tell me, like, what do you think has made the difference then? I know you say you're playing against better golfers, let's say, but what does your day-to-day schedule look like? You're obviously not just playing events every day, I suppose, to make the difference to where you are now.
Well, in college, it was very structured. We played, I think it was probably between 13 and 14 tournaments a year over that 9-month period or whatever. But each week was where we weren't at a tournament was very structured. So you're up 3 mornings a week. You're in the gym at 5:30, and then you would get back around 7, usually get something to eat, go to class then from 8 till 12, usually lectures, that sort of thing. And then you would just practice the rest of the day from kind of 1 o'clock till 6, whether that be playing or chipping and putting, hitting balls on the range, whatever it was always practice. But we did a lot of competitive practice. Everything was almost made into a little competition against your teammates. Right. Or when we would play, it would be you're playing for spots in the team, like this sort of thing. So like you would be teammates with them, but you're still trying to hammer each other every day. And I think that brings out like a good bit of competitiveness. And if you practice being competitive, I think it's so much easier then to take it to the tournament and remain that way.
Yeah, unreal. And I suppose as you say, the competitive spirit each day then of challenging each other and just going up against each other must be, I'd say it's a great thing to I'd even love to see chipping against each other, to be honest, just to see what sort of. And would you say then, in terms of like, I suppose a crack or banter, social element then will be really strong between you all then if you're kind of wagering against each other each day?
You spend so much time with each other that you do, like you'd be the best of friends after it, and you're traveling around the whole of America playing the best golf courses in America each week. And like, it is a great laugh, like as well as everything else, but it's very full on and very intense. So you kind of have to have that bit of a laugh to make it less intense sort of. And some weeks are better than others, some weeks you play terrible, but you need to be able to laugh about when you play terrible and that sort of thing with the lads. And that's definitely one thing that I've missed since I've turned pro, because you're kind of just thrown out there when you turn pro. You're on your own now, that's it, go for it. But like you'd have a couple of friends out there, and on my tour this summer, I had plenty of friends out there who I would have that bit of a laugh with, but you would miss like the teammates, and you play bad and you'd be telling each other about the terrible shots you've hit that day and that sort of stuff. Like, it just takes the edge off it.
And you say turning pro, then is that just, I suppose, you, a coach you might have, and that's it? You'll have your friends who might compete at the events, and it's totally on you now, and that's it.
Yeah, it's on nobody else when you turn pro. You're responsible for your own golf game. That's just it.
Yeah, God, I know, because I know from playing team sports, not that I do it myself, but you'd always have lads who would love blaming somebody else, or just, pushing off the blame, bad pass, oh, he didn't move for me or whatever. But golf seems to be just a totally different scenario where you just can't blame anybody.
No, you can't. It's all on yourself. It's all just on that scorecard that you sign at the end of the day. That's just it.
And have you had many tournaments now or events since turning pro? And do you notice a difference, I suppose, between the amateur and pro tournaments? Not let's say just the people you're up against, but your whole feeling around, the event.
I played 8 events this summer. So I went to Q school after I graduated in May, and I got status on. So there's the PGA Tour, the Corn Ferry Tour, and then there's the Americas Tour, which is it's the tier below the Corn Ferry Tour, which would be like Premiership, Championship, League One. So I played the full summer on that, and it was good. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more serious, I suppose. The lads out there, they're a lot older, and yeah, they're a bit more serious. Like, we would play college, and we would practice day, we'd go and we'd play around, and that's it. We'd go home. Practice day here it's a lot more intense. There's not necessarily as much practicing getting done on the course, more on the range, the putting green, that sort of thing. Lads getting ready for the event, and yeah, it's all just very intense. Like, it's not as relaxed, but it's still great. Like, I love it. I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. But it's very intense compared to the amateur golf, where you go and you have your friends and you have a bit of crack and that sort of stuff.
So you're nearly saying, like, you'd have, I suppose, a bit of crack in between with the lads, maybe amateur, but these guys are maybe putting in hours practicing, and it's just all straightforward, focus on the shots and where to improve, kind of.
Yeah, for the most part, it's lads will be just on the practice area, just they'll be doing what they're doing, and they won't want to talk to anyone. And then I'd be the same, I suppose. And then after they're done, then it's all go. Like, to be up for the crack and all that. But yeah, lads are there to make money, and that's just it.
Yeah, unreal. And I suppose at the end of the day, it is, I suppose, a job for you now and a job for them. So I suppose from their point of view, they probably have to take it, really, really seriously for what they want to do. And I suppose moving forward, what's your aim now? You've started off in Enniscorthy, you've moved across to the States, done extremely well, you've turned pro. What's your next step, or what's the aim, or where would you like to see yourself go?
So for the next year, I'd like to see myself, I suppose, progress onto playing in the Corn Ferry Tour, which would be the championship, I suppose. So I'll be playing. I have the Q school for that now coming up soon. And if I get through that, I'll have status and I'll be able to play in all the events. And if not, hopefully I'll get into a couple anyway, and I'll be sort of traveling around trying to qualify for them. So they do a Monday qualifier too. So I'll do that as well.
Excellent, yeah. And just, do you think is there anything stopping you, I suppose, or not stopping you from getting there, but something you need to progress and work on? Because I know in the past, just from reading too, that you worked a bit on your putting game and stuff. You just felt that need a bit of improvement. Is that something you're happy with now? Is there something that you're kind of feel like, I need to get this right, and when I get this right, I can just move up a gear?
I'd say my patience more than anything else. Yeah, I would lose patience fairly. No, I wouldn't lose it, but I would definitely let it sort of get the better of me a few times if the putts aren't dropping, or you get a bad bounce here and there. And I mean, nobody's perfect, so everybody struggles with that sort of stuff, but you can never be too good at it. And you can never put it good enough either. So both of those things would be nice.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I wouldn't have the patience, to be honest with you, so I can't say anything against you for sure on that. And would you find then, if the patience goes, would you find then sometimes that you might go an iron too high or too low, or just do you become more aggressive with your shots and more?
You become more aggressive. Yeah, you could say the pin could be tight to the left-hand side and you're meant to stay right of it. You could just fire straight at it, miss it left, easy bogey. Like, you could just that sort of stuff. Like, it all adds up, Or you might tee up your driver and try and hit it really hard, and then you hit it in the rough and you can't hold the green and another bogey. Just simple stuff. Like, you just really have to take each shot as it comes and forget about the last one.
Yeah, I know. And I'm looking at you here and I'm thinking to myself, I know what you're telling me, easier said than done, but I'm sure you've developed some sort of, I suppose, discipline by now to kind of keep yourself going too. And tell me this, who was your idol growing up? Because there's so many great golfers. Even I know myself, I love sitting down on Sunday to watch Augusta and just the Masters. And who would have been your golfer, I suppose, growing up that you would have looked at and said, I absolutely love him, or he's great?
I liked Graham McDowell a lot growing up. I remember I went to the Irish Open. I was probably only 12 maybe. And it was just after a year and a half after he'd won the US Open. So he was kind of fairly hot at the time. And I went to see him hit balls on the range. And he came straight over and he started talking to myself and my father and gave me love and that sort of thing. And it was really nice. And something like that kind of sticks with you. Just how nice of a fella he was, as well as everything else. And he didn't have to come over and give me love or anything like that. He could have just stayed and doing what he was doing. But no, I definitely like Graham McDowell a lot. I followed him closely over the last few years. But I suppose he's getting older now and not playing as much.
Yeah, no, and interesting choice as well, because I suppose I was expecting now he's going to say Tiger Woods like the rest of us, but it's great to hear GMAC getting a shout out. But a lovely thing for him to do as well, because I suppose he'd have lots of people haunting him for stuff as well. So really, really nice for him to do it. Paul, let's say there's a young chap at home in Ireland listening to this, and he's thinking, I love golf, I want to improve, I'd love to get where a Paul Conroy is now, turning pro in the future. What advice, I suppose, would you give to a young golfer in that situation?
There's no real secret to it. It is a lot of hard work, but it's enjoyable. If you enjoy it and keep enjoying the game, there's no reason why you can't do whatever you want to do in the game. It's a great game, it gives you loads of opportunities. I mean, it's one of the biggest sport industries in the world now. So I would say definitely just try and keep enjoying it. And America was great for me. If that's something that somebody's interested in doing, I mean, it's amazing. You have 4 years of your life over here. You get an education out of it, new experience, get to travel all over America playing golf. Like, it's something else. Yeah,
I'd say it's an absolute dream for people. I'd say if people could just take up and go that love golf straight away and go and do it, I'd say they'd jump at the chance. They'd absolutely jump at the chance to do it. Yeah, and just that journey, I think, from doing the amateur first, getting that right for yourself, and then actually making the trek over to America, then to really take it onto another gear. I think that was a really good choice as well. Just when you say it there and coming back to it, would you say to maybe a younger golfer, maybe to take up pitch and putt? Do you think that really had a benefit to you really early on to, I suppose, get into it, or for that element of your game?
I think it definitely helped with getting into it. Now, it is very different. Like, the action, I suppose, in the pitching is different in the pitch and putt than it is in golf, just because you're hitting off the high tee. But in terms of getting into the game, getting fundamentals in, getting out there, playing with your friends, having a laugh, like, it's perfect. It was perfect for me.
Unreal, yeah, no. And I played a bit myself. That's why I'm possibly interested. But I suppose I always loved pitch and putt. But the minute I made the transformation, or I went out to the golf club, it was just totally a different game. Then it brought me down a peg or two, to be honest with you. Each time, no matter what happened. Listen, Paul, thanks very much for coming onto the podcast. It's been amazing to hear about your journey. You've definitely inspired a lot of other young golfers that may want to get on pro and move up in the golfing world. And just keep what you're doing. And I hope you win lots more tournaments, and I hope you keep the patience the way you want it as well.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, Chrissy.
Thanks for listening to the Emerald Athlete podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave a review, and don't forget to check out our Instagram page, the Emerald Athlete Podcast.